yeah, I don't know if I could be objective in this conversation because I think I have 5 displays in my office. But
I do too. So one of the questions I actually wanted to get more from Brett because of the technical side of it initially, not to say you're not technical, Kevin, but because Brett as the CTO really has a good insight, he's involved with the team on a regular basis. I want to understand a little bit from a technical perspective, how do people over-engineer conference room designs? Like what does that look like? Because I come across that affair often, especially when we see certain specs that have been put out by customers. When an IT team has designed something, I want to kind of open the table for that and talk about that. Over-engineering, what does that look like?
Yeah, sometimes over-engineering is as simple as not listening to the customer. Mm-hmm. Like, what does the customer actually need versus what does the audio-video geek think that they should have?
Sure.
Right? So that could be something as simple as they're just looking for a conference room system that's contained within one room, and the audio-video geek decides that they should be able to send that conference room system anywhere in the building.
Yeah.
Or, maybe they need, a simple signage solution that is, exploded out to being a massive content media server, or things like that. Things where you're not, identifying what the customer needs up front. You're more interested in the cool factor.
Flexing your engineering muscle.
Exactly.
That's what I always say to people. It's like you got a guy who, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? And you got a guy who wants to prove that he can program something better than somebody else, so he adds too many buttons on the panel that's just too complicated.
Yeah. What have you guys come across?
Oh, I think it's kind of helping them resolve issues between maybe their chief propeller head and their typical user. Because I think sometimes we come in contact with their chief technology person who sometimes wants more than is practical. And would basically lead the end user community astray because they're going to have features and functions and 3 deep menu options that no one will use.
Yeah.
And so helping to resolve that for the customer, where we're using the top technologies, we're attentive to creature features that are important for their environment, but we help guide them on what's practical so they can use it and it's still simple and easy to use.
Yeah, that's kind of the key. Is there is an element to be said for future-proofing and planning ahead, but there are limitations to that. If you have 2 displays, you're not going to put in an audio-video switch that can support 8 displays. There's a certain point where you're just factually over-engineering things.
So I think the over-engineering aspect of it happens on the side of the person who's doing the engineering, but it also sometimes happens on the side of the IT team or the customer. And that's something that I've come across a little bit as well, where I'll give you an example of that. The old school, as I would say, way of doing things, even in the past probably 5, 6, 7 years, would have been that in a conference room, you've got a separate computer in the room to operate the call. And so, the typical scenario, you've got a keyboard and a mouse sitting on the conference table, and everybody who comes in has to then log into their user account to be able to share content because they're sharing it from that shared computer. And it is definitely an interesting way of doing it, but that technology has changed a lot. And so you've got a guy who works in the IT team who has seen this technology implemented in the past and then has this idea that that's what he needs to do going forward. And we run into those issues all the time where it's like, does that make sense? I mean, today the idea of having an appliance in the room that runs a Zoom call or a Teams call is so much more valuable, is so much more intuitive than to have to tell a user, go into that room, find the remote for the TV and turn it on, and then pick up the keyboard and mouse, log into your user account, click the share button once you've logged in. It just is so complicated. Another one I guess I kind of have ran into in the past would have been when somebody feels that they need to have too many displays in a room positioned across the room. So, we want in a video conferencing room to have everybody have a central point that they're looking at. They're interacting with a remote connection with people on the other side, and the cameras are usually positioned in the front of the room. So you want to have that intimate connection with people where you're looking at the TVs, they're looking back at you, and you get that eye contact. But unfortunately, I've had many of situations where the IT team wants to put displays on the side wall or the back wall along with the front wall. And so now you're taking the attention off of the remote connection, and the people who are sitting at the table are facing backwards camera is not getting a shot of their face. You've overcomplicated it, because in order for you to then get the right shot, you've got to have multi-camera.
Yeah, so you've increased the cost.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I could be objective in this conversation because I think I have 5 displays in my office. But
I do too.
but I think it depends. If it's a small conference room, yes, you're correct. They're overthinking it, and we're just trying to point them in the direction of 1 or 2 is the where you get the primary benefit, and then if they really want to push, putting it on the side is going to increase cost. It's going to increase engineering. We're happy to work with them on intelligent cameras tracking, which, as we know, multiple cameras, being able to auto-magically, track the active speaker, so that can help in that sense. But sometimes users just really like to create those kind of immersive rooms, and they're okay with it, even though we tell them, put 1 or 2 up front, get everyone in that orientation. So yeah.
Yeah, that's where it comes back to listening to what the user needs.
Yeah.
I mean, we had that one, we did a large executive conference room, or it was actually a boardroom in New York City for a nonprofit organization. And it was just this meandering kind of labyrinth of rooms that were all connected, and they were insistent that it needed to be that room. And it had all these displays that also needed to be present because of how the board meetings would extend all the way down this table and around an area.
Yeah.
And we were able to figure that out. And in that example, we were just kind of led by that particular room. But if a customer really wants us to kind of journey with them on some of these more, incredible non-standard things, we can help them. I think we'll just kind of point to them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
You should maybe consider these other ideas. If they still want to go, then they've been educated.
Yeah.